Hi there. I know, a video. Weird. I usually don't do this, but I've watched the next two episodes of The Walking Dead, season 11, episode 17, Lockdown, and season 11, episode 18, A New Deal. And I just thought that I would share some of my thoughts in video form. This isn't going to be long. This is pretty spontaneous. Like, as you can tell, like, the lighting behind me isn't great. It's literally just nighttime right now. But I thought since we're rolling into the final eight episodes, I would just, I don't know, record some of my thoughts, see if anyone cares about this. And if they do, then maybe I'll make some other videos to go along with other episodes because I usually don't review every single episode of The Walking Dead. I usually do written reviews on just the premiere episodes that I'm given. Sometimes I write about the finale. If there's a standout episode to me, like the horror episode from season 11 featuring Lauren Ridloff, then I will just, go and write something if it really strikes my fancy. But I thought that maybe if this is something that people like, that maybe I'll go and actually just record some thoughts every single week, just as we're all kind of processing the end together. It's a really heartbreaking thing. I've been covering the show for a few years, and it doesn't feel like I'm not going to be covering the show for years to come. I've spent so many of my weekends, so many of my Sundays, like 16 weeks, at least a year for the past several years, just spending them writing, writing up interviews, writing up thoughts on the show, writing details you missed, and I don't feel it right now, but I know that there's going to be this hole in my life after the show is over. So I know that I went off on a little bit of a tangent, and I just said that I was going to tell you how I feel about the first two episodes, the first of the final eight episodes. I just go right into that because I don't even know if anyone is going to watch this. So how do I feel? My immediate reaction after I watched the premiere episode, I was like, okay, this is fine. Like I don't like I'm not in love with this episode, but I like it. Like let's see where it's going. Uh, by the end of the second episode, I definitely knew that I wanted to see the next episode immediately. I would say that like both of the episodes end on their own cliffhangers of sorts. Without giving anything away, like definitely the premiere ends on a cliffhanger, so I wanted to watch the next episode right away. And then the second one like kind of ends on uh, sort of a similar. It's hard to like call it a cliffhanger per se, but like it's a very satisfying episode, and I think that I like the second episode, 11-18, more than 11-17. Um, things that you will, because I don't want to spoil things, so um, things that I was really happy to see in these episodes were a lot of Carol, a lot of Melissa McBride, which is really nice since she's one of the few remaining survivors on on the show all the way from season one. And when I was doing interviews, when I was doing junket interviews for the final episodes, I had asked 11 of the different cast members who they would be most devastated to see killed off of the show, and uh, Lila, I almost called her Layla, I had to think about this, but Lila Robbins, who plays Governor Milton, had surprisingly said to me, Carol, and she had noted that she felt like she was really the heartbeat of the show, and I couldn't have agreed more with her. This is actually something I guess I'll just tell you guys now because I don't think that this is something that's going to happen, but I had like pitched AMC months and months ago about like possibly potentially doing some sort of long lead item on Melissa McBride, pitching it as the whole Walking Dead story really being hers and not Rick's per se. I think that you could go back and watch the show from the beginning and watch it through her lens as this woman who had went from being a meek and timid housewife, abused housewife, to rising from that and becoming this warrior, this like strong leader who has suffered so many losses over and over again, but has overcome them and has just, uh, you know, risen to basically be one of the leaders of the remaining survivors. And So yeah, I was very happy to basically just see Carol be very much the main character of these two episodes in some ways. Otherwise, I would say like Daryl and Negan are probably the other characters who are in the episodes the most. But what I really enjoyed about these episodes were sometimes I always get concerned that we're going to see um, you know, not enough of a focus on all of the main players, even like the B characters and stuff. And I think that both of the episodes do a really good job of balancing and showcasing most of the cast. Honestly, you see everyone from like the main family: Daryl, Maggie, Father Gabe, Aaron, Negan, his wife Annie, to you know secondary, well, also I'm going to say Judith, I don't think of her as a secondary character, but then to just like secondary characters, and you see most of Magna's group, still waiting on Luke. I'm sure he's going to pop up at some point, but I was also very, very happy, and I think fans are going to be really excited over seeing Jerry. Cooper Andrews just has not gotten enough love, like really at all, in season 11, and we definitely get some time with him. um, Otherwise, I mean, I think that the premiere episode kind of has everything that you want from a Walking Dead episode. It has action sequences. It has some zombie action. It has car chase, which you don't always see on The Walking Dead, and it does a lot to set up what's going to happen in episode 2, well, 11-18. And honestly, I think that that's going to be a very satisfying episode for comic readers. And I'm not going to really get into that a whole lot, but if you were not happy with the way that the Walking Dead comics ended, uh, I think the show does a better job of handling some of the frustrations that you may have had while reading the comic. Um, Otherwise, I'm. Oh, there was. I will say before I get to like things that irked me, um, I'll point out two other things. One is that there were two separate interactions on the premiere episode that really made me smile. That I really enjoyed a whole lot. That I think that the audience is going to enjoy. I'm not going to say who these interactions are between. If you have watched the San Diego Comic Con trailer pretty closely, I think that you can guess who uh, one of these interactions is between. And then the other one, I was just really happy because it was just a first time interaction. Both of them were first time interactions. Um, and I'm just glad that we got those before the show was over. The other thing that I will say is make sure that you don't skip through the opening credits sequence because there's a little extra added in there, and I was also happy to see that some extra names were added into that. So you're gonna know right away, especially if you're only listening to it, you're gonna notice uh, that something sounds a little different because they had to stretch and expand the opening. So just some fun stuff in there for the final 8 episodes. Um, things that I things that I was not as crazy about. One main thing is that I feel like I've just been waiting, as many other Walking Dead fans have been, for since April, since the mid-season finale, to see the result of the end of 11-16, where we last saw Lance Hornsby. He was going into the Commonwealth, stormed into the Commonwealth, lined up all of the uh, people of I think I said the Commonwealth and I meant Oceanside. Sorry. Goes into Oceanside, wrangles up all the individuals, and then has them at gunpoint. And then he takes his coin, flips it up in the air, catches it Harvey Dent style, does one of these, is about to tell everyone their fate, and then the screen just cuts to black. So the expectation is that you're going to, return right to right to that moment, and that's not what happens. And you don't see Oceans, and we don't see Oceanside in the first 2 episodes, and that is extremely frustrating. It feels like a giant plot hole. It feels like the show just moves forward without even acknowledging anything that happened there. It's very unlike The Walking Dead to just leave, I think, a massive plot hole like that in recent seasons. I'll say, like in the past, yes, we have had things like Heath, where he just disappeared, and there are some other things that have just kind of like fallen off of the radar. But I don't know. This just feels too feels too big to not revisit at some point. So I would be shocked if we don't see it a few episodes down the line addressed. But I was very shocked to not see anything in the first two episodes, and that kind of just stayed in my mind while I was watching. I was like, are we not going to talk about, Rachel and all these people who were just like tied up, and like what happened to them? And then that's as deep as I'm going to get into like into spoilery things. I think otherwise, just watching these episodes, I think that these two are very good back to back. I'm glad that I guess I'm glad for the people who are watching these on AMC Plus that they'll get to watch them back to back, because that's how I watch them. I would kind of hate to wait another week to see the culmination of the 11-17 cliffhanger. That's as much as I'll say there. Because then I'm gonna start saying things. Um, but otherwise, I'll say now that there are only 6 episodes left for me to watch. I don't know. Like I don't know where the show is going to end. It feels like it's going to end very differently from Robert Kirkman's comics.